to our first broadcast of Living Your Best Life. I'm Lynn Rosenberg, I'm a Las Vegas resident, and I'm working with Neil at the JCC to bring this wonderful program to you. We're going to provide you 3 10-minute segments about different programs of things that can help improve your life, such as book and movie reviews, health and fitness and exercise, baking, beauty, fashion tips, and crafting. And this is all put together to help you live your best life. We're going to broadcast the last Monday of every month, and you'll be able to view it either at the time that we broadcast or at your own convenience at home. For our first segment, I'd like to introduce Sheila Paris Klein, who will do a book review of Little Fires Everywhere. She is a former hospital administrator and award-winning poet. She's the author of 2 novels, In the Cave of Memory and soon to be published, All Others Must Pay. Enjoy our broadcast. We hope to see you at the end of every month. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Sheila Paris Klein, and I'm going to be reviewing the novel Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. When I was asked by Lynn Rosenberg to review a book, I thought to myself, well, sure. I read a book, I tell you what it's about, I tell you to read it. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought that there are many, many purposes to listening to a review of a book. Sometimes you read the book. Sometimes it's a jumping off point for thinking about another topic. Sometimes it's a location that interests you within the book. And sometimes it just inspires your creativity, so you do something creative. Because I find that that's what happens with me. I write books, and people read my books and review them. And sometimes what I discover is that the reviewer sees more in the book that I even knew was there when I wrote it. So to begin, I'd like to just point out the fact that I read Nora Ephron's Heartburn, which is a very famous novel, for her recipes. I read Michael Frayn's book, Headlong, and then I fell back in love with Peter Bruegel, the painter. I read a review of Billy Collins' poetry, and I began to write poetry all over again. So now I'd like to begin with just a little bit about Celeste Ng and her novel. Celeste Ng is an American author who grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and in Shaker Heights, Ohio, which, by the way, is the setting for her novel. She graduated from Harvard and received an MFA from the University of Michigan. The setting for Little Fires Everywhere is Shaker Heights. It's a planned suburb of Cleveland, which was planned by the Shaker community with very exacting detail. They designed the winding, beautiful streets that go through the little town. They designated what kind of houses could be built and what colors they could be painted. And so, according to the novel, most people who live there choose to live in Shaker Heights because they want that kind of ordinary living. And certainly one of our 2 protagonists in this novel chose it exactly because of that. This is a woman whose name is Elena Richardson. She has 4 teenage children, Lexi, Moody, Trip, and Izzy, that are much more free-spirited than she is. And they are drawn to this town because of its ordinary living. Into the town moves another woman named Mia Warren and her daughter Pearl. They rent a small house from the Richardsons, which immediately puts them in contact with all of the Richardson children, who discover the charm of not being ordered and not being ordinary. Because Mia is an artist, she moves around from city to city and different parts of the country, taking Pearl with her, moving with very little and recreating her art wherever she happens to land. So the themes of Little Fires Everywhere are very varied and enticing. There's parenthood, there's adoption, there's envy, there's community pressure, there's self-actualization. And some of the questions it asks are really very interesting because within the novel, there is a story about adoption. Who has the parental rights to a child? The mother who gives up the child and regrets it, or the parents who adopt the child and believe that they can give it a much more substantial life with more support and more material comfort, but perhaps not the racial or cultural identity that the original mother had. The other question I might ask is, does being a mysterious and eccentric artist excuse Mia, one of the central characters, from her obligations as an adult to protect the Richardson children and her own child from her charm and her ability to move on when people become too attached to her? The novel opens with 3 of the 4 Richardson children standing on the lawn watching their home burn down. And in the novel, Eng writes, "Sometimes you need to scorch everything to the ground and start over. After the burning, the soil is richer and new things can grow. People are like that too. They start over, they find a way." But she describes Elena Richardson this way. All her life, she had learned that passion, like fire, was a dangerous thing. It so easily went out of control. It scaled walls, jumped over fences. Sparks leaped it like fleas and spread as rapidly. A breeze could carry embers for miles. Better to control that spark and pass it carefully from one generation to the next, like an Olympic torch. Carefully controlled, domesticated, happy in captivity. The key, she thought, was to avoid conflagration. I do recommend Little Fires Everywhere. I think N is a masterful writer of interesting characters. I think she has caught the variety of teenagers' thinking wonderfully well, especially since I have 5 of my own, all grown now, thankfully. Maybe you'll read this novel and enjoy it and pass it on to a friend. Maybe you'll research fire or Shaker Heights. Maybe you'll find Shaker furniture appealing and buy a chair or build a chair. Maybe you'll let your own artist heart blossom and take up photography or weaving or sculpting. Hopefully you will read the book. Once again, it's Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng.
Hello, hi, and thank you for joining us on this little preview of a new program that is being offered by the JCC, which is called Living Your Best Life. You know, we all are the age, or I would say not all of us, but most of us, and there's a big community here at the JCC that have retired. And of course, it's the good news and the bad news. Yeah, we all have that story. I myself built a cosmetic company that I ran for 35 years called Judith Cosmetic Solutions. And prior to that, I was a fashion model for years. I never stopped working for a minute for all these years. And then all of a sudden, here we are. Okay, we want to do all these wonderful things, but what are they? You know, some of we just forget all the things that we can do once we've retired and create another best life for ourselves. I myself started painting, and this has just been about a year or so now that I've retired, but the business is still going. I'm still a consultant, so I'm involved in that, but I always wanted to paint, and it's the biggest pleasure of my life. I love it. I just love it, love it, love it. Now, I wanted to tell you a little bit about all the people that we're going to have involved in this Living Your Best Life, because there are all these things to be aware of, and you probably are aware of a lot of them, but you don't even say, oh, you pass them by. But it's a very rich community out there of people who can open your eyes to so many different things. Now, my particular subject is going to be the beauty report. Duh, I wonder why. It's only been a whole life of being number 1 in front of the camera for a lot of years, and number 2, a creator of cosmetic specialty items. And that business lasted, well, as I said, I was involved with it for over 35 years. So that's a very, very long time. And there's so many things that change in the beauty world, and I know that every woman who's watching this right now, and I hope there'll be more, who's not interested in cosmetics. And the changes that are going on today in the world of cosmetics is absolutely astonishing. It used to be that you had Revlon, and you had Estee Lauder, and you had Elizabeth Arden, and Helena Rubinstein was one of the very, very first, if any of you remember her. I remember Helena Rubinstein because I remember having a job once for Red Book magazine, and it was at Helena Rubinstein's penthouse in Manhattan on Park Avenue. Well, I was just a kid, but this was the cosmetic guru of the entire world at the time. And what a thrill that was. I remember the particular story was all the things that women do that they don't realize they do when they get all dressed up and they're making their grand entrance. And I walked down this incredible stairway in her penthouse. It was a winding stairway. And then they would say to me, well, pull down your bra strap. I had this gorgeous gown on and the hair and the makeup and all this stuff. But who knew that my bra strap was showing? And that was the whole concept of this particular article. All of the silly things like that you do that you're not aware of. And I remember it so well because it was a very fun shoot. But at any rate, cosmetics has changed so much. And today, oh my goodness, any celebrity in the world, and they do, start their own cosmetic company. Do you know what's in the cosmetics? Do you know what they're made out of? Still, I mean, there are regulations that are much more strict, of course, today as they were in that day. But you have to really you've got to be your own little taskmaster in order to come up and make the formulas, what's in these formulas. I'm fascinated to see what people are putting in cosmetics today and all the anti-aging criteria that's around. And we're all interested in that. I know I am, my friends are, and I would assume you are too. So learning about all those things from the inside track on the Beauty Report, I hope would be of interest to you. What's new? What's new? What's going on? The packaging is all very, you've got to get rid of it. It's compost. What is it? Compost. And you've got it. Yeah. I mean, things are just not as they used to be. But one of the things that I did in my years, I wrote this book, and the book is called Gotcha Covered, the Complete Guide to Camouflage Makeup, because that's what my company does and did. I didn't want a company that sold just another lipstick, another eyeshadow, another this, another that. I was more into helping people. And I was very, very fortunate. I had a mentor from Beverly Hills whose name was Aida Gray. And a lot of you who might be from the West Coast would remember her name. And she was the guru of Beverly Hills. She was the first one to ever do custom blended foundation for people, which I still believe very much in. And I was the training director for her company and trained all her franchise people in the art of makeup as well as how to run a franchise. So I finally got to the point that I was not in the studio or in her salon very much anymore. I was out in the community lecturing and doing things of that sort. And one of the things that I did was work for plastic surgeons and helped women look better after their surgery when they were, bruised and red and this and that, and then they had something to go to. I was the one who would come in as a consultant and work with them on not only their concealing, but also a new look for them after their surgery. And it wasn't all beauty surgery, believe me. There were so many things I saw you wouldn't believe. We did a lot of abuse problems and covering bruises and people who had been in accidents, of course, and scars and things of that sort. And that's where my calling was. So when I started Judith August Cosmetic Solutions, it were solutions for covering up and concealing problems that everybody has. And it's not just bad problems we just talked about. We all have a problem. I mean, what problem do you have that you think you might want to cover up? Well, I know mine goes from my head down to my chin. And there are all these little problems. And there's the bags under the eyes, and there's all the wrinkles that start, and there's, I can tell you, the eyebrows start thinning, and this and that. Those are all correctable with the right makeup and a lot of the concealers. My first product, which got me in business in the first place, was used during my time with plastic surgeons. And it is called the Everything Pencil. That's funny, I got a call yesterday from an old friend I haven't talked to in over 40 years. And she has been using my products for all these years, and I guess she was busy because she never called me in 40 years, but all of a sudden I got a call. She said, I just got my order from your company, and I just had to call you. I haven't talked to you in so long, and she was very flattering about the products. And I guess she did like them, and she's somebody who was in front of the camera for a long time. And what I created was a concealer in a pencil form, and I called it the Everything Pencil Face and Body Concealer. Now, nobody had ever done this before. There are many concealers on the market, but nobody ever put it, or I won't say nobody ever did it. They did it in Europe, but they never marketed it. I found this pencil in a beauty supply. Had no name on it, had no produced by, no nothing. It was just a pencil. And it was not done in the United States. Nobody was doing it. So I looked at this, and I was doing all this work with plastic surgeons, and I said, oh my God, instead of just dragging, or as we say sometimes, schlepping all these products that I had to, makeup and cosmetics and different colors and different everything. I mean, bags and bags of things I would take. Basically, I needed one little pencil. I mean, a few other things, of course, too, but this one little pencil did the most of it. And it covered up under eye circles, bruises, birthmarks, broken capillaries. It was a great eye concealer. You could fill in your little fine lines with the pencil to soften. And everything about concealing, camouflaging, anything that you have is in my book, Got You Covered, The Definitive Guide to Camouflage Makeup. Not only the pencil now, of course, there's many other products because there are other situations. But what we hope that we've done is create things that you might be interested in learning about what's new, what's going on, what the trade secrets are, what the magazines are talking about now and how to decipher everything. And we hope that you will join us in book reviews and not just these cosmetics, of course, but we're going to have recipes and people who make products, food products. We have one coming up that's how you make grapeseed oil and the recipes that you can use for that. Real estate, literature, anything that people might be interested in to create your best life. And we hope that you join us, and we look forward to seeing you.
Today I'm going to give you some fitness tips for living your best life over 50 with 1109 Fitness. I hope you enjoy. When it comes to balance, as long as you're attempting one leg, I'm happy. But good is going to be holding on to a chair or a wall. Better is balancing on one foot, hands on hips, on a flat surface. And best would be balancing on a yoga block or a Bosu ball or anything unstable.
I blew it. I'm sorry.
You're doing great. You can change hand positions to heart center. You could keep them on your hips or bring them out to the side. Hold for 5 more seconds. Good job. For a good, better, best in strength, we have a plank. Here, for good, she's on her forearms. For better, she's on her hands. And for best, she's on both toes and hands. Let's hold for 30 seconds. Just do what you can. Five more seconds. 4, 3, 2, and 1. For stretching, frog is good. One leg in, one leg out is better. Both legs out is best. On all three positions, you're stretching your inner thighs, your adductors, opening up your hip flexors. Lean forward as much as you can, keeping your chin away from the chest. Good. Reach, try and lower yourself from the hips a little bit more as the seconds pass. And hold this for at least 30 seconds. If you're doing the better pose, you're gonna wanna switch legs halfway through. Lean forward. All three are wonderful stretches. 5 more seconds. Hold for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Thank you for joining me today. Always remember to challenge your balance, your strength, and your flexibility. Because if you don't use it, you lose it.